Amidst the cries and despair, the lands lay still, with fields of bones buried in silence. Hulagu Khan, the infamous butcher of Baghdad, has moved on, leaving this desolation behind. His gaze now turns towards Syria, where the Sultan of Aleppo and Damascus, al-Nasir Yusuf, has failed to submit to the Mongols. Envoys from Hulagu arrive with a dire ultimatum: dismantle your defenses and submit to the great Khan of the East or face destruction. Some in the Sultan's court urge surrender, but Yusuf is confident his cities can withstand a siege. A commander named Baybars, with a clouded eye from a cataract, implores the Sultan to meet the Mongols in open battle, warning that no walls can protect them. His plea is ignored, so Baybars departs, leaving Syria to its fate. The end comes swiftly in early 1260. Within a week, the Mongols breach the walls of Aleppo. From the high citadel, the defenders watch helplessly as their people are massacred. The garrison holds out for weeks, but eventually surrenders. Another fortress in the region follows, though it is recorded that even those who surrendered under the promise of amnesty were executed along with their families. Al-Nasir flees, and Damascus falls without a fight. Mongol administrators soon impose control over Syria, dismantling the remnants of the Ayyubid dynasty. Just a decade earlier, the Ayyubids had defeated the Crusaders and captured the French king Louis IX, marking a great triumph. But their reign in Egypt was cut short by their own elite slave soldiers, the Mamluks, who seized power and began to battle among themselves. Baybars, once a prominent Mamluk, had fled Egypt when his rivals claimed control. Now he returns, reconciling with the current Mamluk Sultan of Egypt, Qutuz. As the winds of war gather once again, Baybars vows not to flee this time. Baybars' journey to Egypt was the result of tragedy. His tribe, originally from the western steppe, had been forced to flee invaders and sought refuge in Crimea. There they were attacked by a warlord, and many of his people were killed. Baybars himself was sold into slavery and brought to Egypt, where he was trained as a Mamluk soldier. Ironically, the invaders who had displaced his people were the Mongols, the very enemy he now faced. Envoys from Hulagu arrive in Cairo with another warning for Qutuz. The message reads, "From the King of Kings, ruler of the East and West, the Supreme Khan, God has made us his soldiers, and we cleanse the world of corruption. Submit to us, or suffer the consequences. We are untouched by tears or prayers. We have already purified the lands we conquered and destroyed most of their people. No place can offer you safety." Qutuz's response is swift and brutal. He has the 4 Mongol envoys executed and displays their severed heads at Cairo's southern gate. With war inevitable, Qutuz leads his army out to meet the Mongols. Hulagu, having withdrawn north with most of his forces following the death of the great Khan Munka, leaves behind around 10,000 Mongol soldiers under his general Kitbuka. These Mongols, camped across Palestine, have pillaged the region but established little control. As news of the Mamluk army's advance reaches Kitbuka, he prepares his forces for battle. Meanwhile, the Mamluks make camp near the Crusader city of Acre. Despite their historical animosity toward Islam, some Christian factions, the Georgians, Armenians, and the ruler of Antioch, have allied with the Mongols. However, the Crusaders in Acre, wary of Mongol ruthlessness, secretly supply the Mamluks. Baybars scouts ahead and locates the Mongol army near the spring of Ain Jalut. As dawn breaks over the hills of Galilee, the Mamluk forces face the Mongols. The Mamluks, comprising slave soldiers trained from childhood in warfare, are joined by Syrian and Bedouin allies. They wear heavy armor and are adept at horse archery and melee combat. Across the field, the Mongol soldiers, some heavily armored and others lightly equipped, prepare for battle. They too are expert horsemen, having been raised in the saddle and trained in archery from a young age. The Mongols strike first, their heavy cavalry crashing into the Mamluk lines, followed by a rain of arrows. Mamluks fall, and Qutuz feels fear spread through his ranks. Rallying his men, he urges them to fight for Islam and leads a countercharge. During the battle, an Ayyubid prince fighting for the Mongols deserts, weakening their left flank. The Mamluks exploit this and engage the Mongols in brutal hand-to-hand combat. Slowly, the Mongol forces begin to falter. Kitbuka is surrounded and killed, his head taken as a trophy. Baybars pursues the fleeing Mongols, cutting them down in the hills. When some are found hiding in a field of reeds, the Mamluks set the reeds ablaze. The news of the Mongols' defeat at Ain Jalut spreads. Cities once under Mongol control are abandoned, and the Mamluks reclaim them. On his return to Egypt, Qutuz, who had seized power only a year earlier, is assassinated by Baybars in a plot carefully planned during their journey. Baybars, proclaiming his victory at Ain Jalut, secures the loyalty of the Egyptian commanders and ascends to the throne as Sultan. Though the Mongols still pose a threat, internal divisions weaken them. Hulagu becomes embroiled in a conflict with Hulagu Khan, a Muslim Mongol prince from the north, who seeks to punish Hulagu for the sack of Baghdad. As the Mongol Empire fractures, Baybars seizes the opportunity, forging an alliance with Hulagu Khan, who supports the Mamluks by allowing the slave trade from his lands to Egypt. Despite the Mongols' desire for vengeance, internal conflicts continue to distract them. Hulagu's successor, Abaka, tries to forge alliances with European powers, even marrying into Byzantine royalty. Yet despite attempts to unite against the Mamluks, cooperation remains limited. Baybars, ever shrewd, outmaneuvers both the Crusaders and the Mongols. In the years that follow, the Mongols mount new invasions, but the Mamluks hold the line. Even after Baybar's death, the Mamluks continue to repel the Mongol threat. However, the greatest enemy of the Mongol Empire turns out to be the Mongols themselves. The very ambition, ruthlessness, and hunger for power that built the Mongol Empire now lead to its fragmentation. Years before, as he surveyed the battlefield, Hulagu Khan had lamented, "Mongols are slain by Mongol swords. If we were united, we would have conquered the entire world." We hoped you enjoyed this historical documentary. Like and subscribe if you want to see more.